What's up YouTube? It's Raining Car Games and welcome to the March Q&A. So, just before we go ahead and jump into the questions, if you guys would like to have a chance for your question to be featured in a Q&A, feel free to comment down below in this video or comment in any of the posts because that's where I usually will get most of these questions for the Q&A video. Or also Patreon members, you guys have priority and one of our patrons' questions will be featured in today's video. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into the questions for the video. So, the interesting thing with 6 Sams is usually the way I like to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I like to play with a rogue strategy usually, or something unique, something that can't easily be understood, I guess. I like having that little edge against my opponent, and they have to read card effects, they have to make decisions on the fly. They can't just memorize, okay, when this person does this part of the combo, this is where I drop my Ash, or this is where I drop the Imperm, all that kind of stuff, where to interact. I like having that, my opponent having to think. And normally, I understand 6 Sams aren't the best deck. They're not, obviously not, but just being able, because like I know if I have the right plays, I can do some pretty crazy stuff, as I'm sure many of you have seen in Sealed Only Samurai. And the deck is just so much fun just to spam the board, go through so many combos. It's really fun. I just enjoy it, so I guess that's what kept me going. I had fun with the deck, I had fun interacting with all you guys through my videos for it, so yeah, it's just fun. I mean, that's the real reason why. Otherwise, everyone, I guess, would only play meta and not experiment with rogue stuff. So I guess that's really my inspiration and why I kept on going with 6 Samurai. So, if you guys tune into, I believe it's either the first Q&A or the last Q&A, I do explain how I got into my profession. So if you want to get more detailed info on that, hop back on over to one of the previous Q&A videos. But in terms of how you guys can get involved, there are many different opportunities. Currently not right now because of the current health crisis, but if you guys are interested, you can always look into citizen science, look into also local universities, because a lot of times graduate students and doctoral candidates will be doing their thesis projects, and oftentimes they'll look for maybe volunteer work. For my thesis, I don't really need any extra assistance, but oftentimes I know if I was doing a bigger project, I may reach out to the public. Let's say I need X amount of people to do just this one simple task. I may just leave it out like on a university campus looking for volunteers. So that's one way to do it. Look at university groups, see if they're doing any studies that need volunteer assistance, citizen science projects. And then also a lot of times if you go to different organizations from various levels, you'll notice they'll have stuff like, if you see this, for example, if you see this species out in the wild, please take a picture, if you can, take a picture of it and send it to our park staff so we can record it. So basically looking around wherever you are and seeing if they are doing any kind of projects and see if there's any volunteer assistance. And then if you do pay attention to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wilderness series I provide, I usually try to put links in the description, ways you can either get involved or at least interested. So it's always just a little bit of research. Google is a very powerful tool. Control decks. I'm not opposed to the idea, because I've played control decks. I've played Paleo Frog, rip, totally awesome. But the thing with control decks is I don't like Mystic Mind control. I don't like to the point where you literally, if you have no out in your deck whatsoever, without siding obviously. So let's say you're going into a match, game 1, they flip Mystic Mind, you have no response whatsoever. I do not like that. That's why I do not like Mystic Mind as a card for so much. I don't mind Guru control and all this stuff. It's like, if there's a way for you to play, even if it's difficult, really difficult to play, as long as there's something you can do, I'm fine with control decks. Because it's to everyone's nature, how they play, how they like to play. Combo, control, destroying, breaking, going second. So there are different ways to play. So control decks have their place in the format. It's just if there's a point where it's a little too oppressive, then I'm not the biggest fan. So that's why Mystic Mine, Guru I can get behind, because sometimes you can beat Guru, but if you have no outs to Mystic Mine, you're not going to be playing that game. So it can be rough sometimes. Crazy stories. Well, there was one time I was driving through a park area and there was a snapping turtle walking through the parking lot, and he was quite a distance away from the pond area in the park, and there were a bunch of people and parents freaking out, and they wanted to say, like, why my kid wants to touch it, blah blah blah. And obviously you have an adult snapping turtle bite a kid, that kid's probably gonna lose a hand. So here I am. I'm like, ah, oh, great. I know he's just migrating. He's walking to another body of water. He'll get there eventually. But people are not always the brightest animal, and they'll want to touch and stuff, and then a kid is gonna lose their hand. So being the man in charge, the man with the badge, the man with authority, was like, all right. I told everybody I'd deal with it. So drive up. Sure enough, turtle's there walking. So I was like, hey buddy, I know how to handle snapping turtle thanks to previous experience and training, so I pick him up, I carry him over to the ranger truck. He's not too happy about it. I put him in the passenger seat side on the floor, and we just go on a car ride to the park, where then I park my truck, go over, get him out of the truck, and we'll walk on down. He's still snapping away. He's not too happy, but I eventually bring him to the pond, and then he just plops into the water, and then off he is on his happy new adventure. Okay, so this one comes from one of our patrons, Tim. My favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card. That's a tough one. A lot of people would think it's Weather Report. Weather Report is definitely one of my favorites. I wouldn't say it is my favorite, but it's definitely up there. I would actually have to say Terror King Salmon. Old card from Invasion of Chaos. Monarch stats. Level 5, 2400 attack, 1000 defense. Vanilla fish type monster. I remember, I'm really fond of that card because it was one of my first cards ever. And it was quite a good card from what I remember, just being able to tribute summon, or with Legendary Ocean, activate that, you can normal summon, and it's a 2600 beater. So fond memories with that card. I still have that card actually with me. I have 2 copies actually. But I think, yeah, Terror King Salmon is actually my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card. Three possible decks. Well, let's say, I know at one point I want to try Yang Zings. That archetype always intrigued me, I guess is an interesting way. And I looked at it, and I've looked at deck lists before online, and it's interesting. And I think at some point I may pick up a core and build a deck and try it out. So Yang Zings are one. Another one that I would be interested in trying out. Let me think about that. Another deck that I was also considering on building, but I actually ended up just building it on stream, was a Buster Blader. So I was thinking about it because, just having that gigantic, the fusion Buster Destruction Swordsman guy, I forget his name specifically, but just being able to control the board and then making all your opponent's monsters dragon with Buster Dragon or stuff like DNA Surgery, and just like that control but very like powerful control type of build. So that's another deck that really interested me. And I guess another one that I'm still trying to wrap my head around is Infinitrack, because I know like there's obviously like Infinitrack splashed into trains, and there's a lot of stuff that splashes Infinitrack into stuff, but I want to try it pure. Like, it's something that I'm trying to figure out how to build a good pure version of the deck. I mean, obviously you'll have a little text splashed in here, but not like a train engine with an Infinitrack, or a train deck with an Infinitrack engine, but like an actual Infinitrack centric based deck. That would be another one that I'd be interested in. I'm still trying to figure out. I have a deck build, but I'm not happy with it, so I'm trying to tweak it here and there so that I can actually have a build I'm confident with. A hint for the new sealed only series. You see, that's the thing. I don't want to spoil anything about it just because I want to have that moment of surprise when I do debut it. But I can give you guys a general idea of what it is. It is an older archetype, not ancient, and so it's not like Toon, right, or Archfiend, like something that dates back to the very, 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 very beginning, or Dark Scorpion. Not that old, but it's an older archetype. It's got plenty of support. I've actually already designed a new logo for it, and I'm actually quite happy with it and how the logo looks. Something that I made on my own. I'm pretty excited to debut it when eventually this whole situation dies down and I have all the stuff I need ready for the series. I'm pretty excited for when I can debut it. But I guess it's old. It does great. Not old, but it's an older archetype. It does great in Master Rule 5. Yeah, I don't want to give anything too away, but it's older and it does great in Master Rule 5, and it does have some pretty cool combos. We'll leave it at that. Well, right now, obviously, I'm not using the deck outside because we can't go outside. I'm quarantined. But, I have used it in playtesting with other decks, so like as a potential opponent. Sometimes I'll do that. I'll sit down with 2 decks, open hand, I'll set up my SOS board and then play with other decks, see if I can't break it or go through it. So, yeah, I still do it. And then once this whole situation does resolve, I do plan on playing the deck. Maybe not in its complete sealed only form. I'll probably swap in maybe a few cards here and there to edit it to where, like, okay, this is what I can build the deck at its best. And I may debut that deck profile at some point later in the channel once this whole situation resolves. So all the editing is done by me. And then in terms of camera work, it is mostly just me. Occasionally on a few Yu-Gi-Oh! Wilderness episodes, if I'm out with a group of friends and stuff, or in certain areas, I may ask them, do you want to tag along with me briefly to do a few camera shots? So you may have noticed that in the title meta episode or in Wildcard West, there are a few shots which are not me filming. But for the most case, it's just me on my own. Yeah, although I am starting to do a little more, I'm starting to branch out with collabs and everything, so I guess that's one kind of camera work. But in terms of me on film site, for example, for sealed only or all this stuff, that's literally just I set up the camera to overview the duel, film the duels, and then on Yu-Gi-Oh! Wilderness, if I have someone who's willing to come along and do a few shots, but other than that, it's literally just me, my camera, and my tripod. So yeah. Alright, you guys, that is going to do it for the March Q&A. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and remember, leave down below in the comments if you want a chance for your question to be featured in the next Q&A or on the next community post. But as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on Instagram, check out the Discord server, and then also if you guys want to support the channel, hitting the link down to the Patreon, also using my TCG Player affiliate link to buy all the stuff that you normally would online, and then also check out the merchandise shop if you want to represent some Reigning Card Games channel merch. But that is going to do it for me, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next video.